Hello and welcome to the Bucket Lister podcast. Join your host Keith Crockford along with special guests who have travelled the world, here to share stories of their adventures and plenty of inspo to add to your bucket list. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of the Bucket Lister podcast. I am your host Keith Crockford and today I am welcoming you to the last podcast of 2023. And on this podcast, I can welcome Dave. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Keith.
And I also welcome Jake. Hello, Jake.
Hi, Keith.
So I thought, as it's the last one of 2023, we would bring some of the guides together, not all of the guides, but we bring some of the guys together and have a little bit of a review and look back and see if we've got any funny stories or anything to tell of 2023. So that was the idea of today's podcast. And we've done lots of trips in 2023. And for those that listen, know that quite a lot of our trips are guided by one of us. Moving on, we did a podcast on this a while ago. Moving on into the future, some will be guided by us, some won't be. There will still be the opportunity for the majority of our trips that you can book if you want to have it led by one of us. And I know a lot of our bucket listers, that is what they book for, that is what they want. And we are still completely, obviously, happy to run that because we love traveling with you as well. So, Dave, have you got any idea how many trips you've done this year? Can you remember back that far?
It's at least 7, probably 8, I should think. And actually, it's many fewer than last year. The year before, I did one a month, I think. A dozen of them post-pandemic. But this year's been a bit more rational, thank you.
That's all right. And it's always funny with you because I know at the start of every year you say to us, you're getting older, you've got to start taking it more easy. And then we'll give you the spreadsheet of available trips and then you'll write a few down. And then before you know it, like you've added another couple more down and another couple more down. And in the end, you're still doing just as many as you normally do anyway. So, Jake, what about you? How many did you do this year?
Yeah, I think I did about 7 as well. This year was definitely a busier year for me. I had quite a busy start to the year and then quite a busy end to the year. But fortunately, in the middle, we had a little bit more time to get things sorted. Obviously, joining the team.
Yeah, and I think when I worked it out the other day, I had done 14 this year, which I think is the most. I think maybe I did more last year. Maybe I did one more last year. But like you were saying, Dave, like last year was mental in terms of trying to get everybody away from the moving of trips post-pandemic. So it seemed to be a lot more settled this year in terms. And I suppose I was fortunate enough this year to lead quite a lot of new trips. Jake, you had a couple of new trips this year. Dave, did you have any new trips this year?
No, you always forget about me. I think I'm in a backwater somewhere. Well,
I mean, it's you're good at what you're good at, and you still fight me for a few of those now. I know next year we're sharing a Gozo trip together because I want to go on it, but also you want to go on it as well. So we're sharing that one together. Jake, you had a couple of new ones this year?
Yeah, I had a couple of new ones. So I'd been bugging you for a Machu Picchu trip for about 2 years. And we eventually managed to get one of those booked in. So I got to go and tick off one of my big bucket list trips personally, which was Machu Picchu, and I loved it. And then finished off the year with a little bit of a last minute one for me, which was Thailand. So I wasn't expecting to go on that at the beginning of the year. And that was a brand new trip for us as a company. So yeah, managed to get that one in as well. So that's been good. Oh, and the Sahara I hadn't done before as well.
There we go. So
I'd heard so much about it from Dave.
Dave's our Sahara king on that one. And I suppose, and for me, I actually led quite a lot of brand new trips this year. Dave, you're a liar.
What?
You had a new trip this year.
Oh, I did. Yes, I did. I had Patagonia.
There we go.
And that was absolutely incredible. It was like being in a David Attenborough documentary every day. I can't recommend it enough. It's incredible, especially for someone like me who's done loads of trips. It was just out of this world.
I mean, you know, like obviously living in Devon, I see lots of camper vans going up and down. And it just reminded me then of the slogan on the back of some of the camper vans, "Adventure for Dementia." And that just reminded me then of you forgetting that you've been to Patagonia.
Well, that was just his run to go and get ice for his G&T, as he posted on his birthday.
Yeah.
But and it was, and if I was honest with you, Dave, I think the year seems to have gone really quickly, but I also think that Chile, because I did Chile and Easter Island the same time as you did Patagonia, and that seems so long ago now since we went on those trips and we flew out right at the beginning. Like, was it the 3rd of January? I think we flew out on those trips,
yes.
something like that. And I was a bit like you, because I was going through my trips the other day, and I've just been creating all of the new bucket lister guides on the website, the quick guides for all of the trips, and I needed some photos for the Chile and Easter Island one. And I was going back through my phone, and it happened the other day as well. Someone asked me to see a picture of something. And I was scrolling through my phone from this year, and obviously with 14 trips worth of photos, everyone was just like, that is like a montage of photos that most people would never have on their phone in a lifetime, never mind in 1 year. So I do feel very fortunate about the things that I have been able to do this year. But I suppose the question that I'm going to ask you guys in a minute is, what was your favorite trip from 2023? And I think if I answer that question first from my perspective, when I look back through all those photos the other day, for me, it was Chile and Easter Island at the start of the year for me. It was such an amazing trip. Like, I had 18 brilliant bucket listers on the trip. Everyone just got on so well. Everyone had such an amazing time. Like, it was the first time we had run that trip. The feedback from that trip was amazing. And like, I got to tick off going scuba diving in Easter Island. So that was one thing that I ticked off 2 things off my bucket list this year. And that was one of them. So for me, if I had to look back, and like I say, I've done 14 trips this year. And if I had to look back, then that I would say was probably, and I don't want to disappoint any of my other bucket listers that I've taken away on trips this year, because that really isn't fair, because they have all been amazing. I do say this, like, we do not have a bad trip. So I've had some amazing trips, but I think from my perspective, if I had to choose my best one, then it would be Chile and Easter Island. What about you, Dave?
Well, it's the same. It's the same for me, but the same caveats as well. I don't want to upset anybody, because I've had some great trips, but Patagonia, it really felt like a once in a lifetime trip. It absolutely, the highway down there is called the End of the World Highway, and you feel like you're at the end of the world. Just Patagonia ice sheet, and everywhere you go, totally unspoiled and so natural, I suppose, in a way. Just nothing spoiling anything. And as I said before, just a tiny token of this, really. And we go on about water to go bottles, don't we, and being safe and not upset. But every stream you pass, you can drink out of. Every stream, without question. It's just everything it's like going back into, I don't know, primitive times, really, when there was nobody spoiling anything. It's just a wonderful place. And it feels a long way from home.
Did you still need hand sanitizer?
No. The only sanitizer I needed was Peruvian red wine every evening, which when you get to the campsite is gratis. It's free, to welcome you. So you win all the way in Patagonia. I can't recommend it enough to bucket listers, but also to all my colleagues who are guides and climbers. It is the place to go. To be honest, it is. the word gets overused, but it is awesome. Yeah, so that was my favourite.
What about you, Jake?
Yeah, it's a really tough question because I've enjoyed every single one of the trips that I've gone out on this year, like for so many different reasons. And I think what you guys were saying really stands true, is that the groups that we go with are just so much fun. Like I've had really fun groups, all of the trips that I've done. Without upsetting anyone, I would have to choose. Well, I'm really torn because I would say the Inca, because it had been on my personal bucket list for so long that getting to see Machu Picchu just felt like such an amazing thing for me, because it was something that I really wanted to see. But the Sahara Desert, I just remember feeling the happiest. And I know that might sound really silly to say, but Dave will understand. You will both understand. But I know I was chatting to Dave about it before I went out, but I just felt so peaceful the entire time I was there. That yeah, I just remember thinking to myself as we were camping out under the stars and the guys had made the bread in the sand. I just remember thinking, if this went on for another week, I'd be really happy.
Yeah, I think like it is, I mean, I've been fortunate enough this year that I've done our Tanzanian safari trip, first time we'd offered that one. I'd done our surf and yoga trip, first time we'd offered that one. I'd done our Discover Cappadocia trip, first time we'd done that one. So Best in Nepal, first time we'd done that one. So I have led a lot of new trips, which has been, I mean, in all of those destinations I've been to, before Tanzania plenty of times, Morocco plenty of times, Nepal like so many times. But it was just nice to go out there and deliver a different trip, and as Whitey would say, it was so nice. But it's like this year has just been amazing, and I think we've got more new trips for next year, which is great. And I think we're always going to have our stable classics. We're still going to have our Tukals and our Machu Picchu's and our Everest base camps and Kilimanjaros, and they're the ones that we always say we sell loads and loads and loads of those, and that's kind of what we're known for, which is great. And I mean, it's on my job list to do for this week. Is I always like to finish the year off and look back at what we've achieved this year as a company. And I'll go back and look at how many people got to Everest base camp, how many people summited Kilimanjaro. And I just think it's a really interesting fact and shows us as a company, I think, how much we actually care. Because, when you look at the success rates of Everest base camp or Kilimanjaro, I mean, year on year, we are just smashing those in terms of our groups. And part of that, I think, is because we're there. And I just think we really want people to achieve their goals at that point. And I think it's so easy for people to turn around and give up and say, oh, I had altitude sickness. But I would love to know the facts of actually how many people turn around actually do have, and let's put this in inverted commas, altitude sickness. But we are, I had another 100% on Kilimanjaro this year. I had 19 with me in a group. And then I had someone slagging us off on Instagram the other day saying Kilimanjaro's dangerous. I had a group, there was 15 in our group and only 4 people managed to summit. And my response was really simple. And my response was, I would be questioning your guides then. Like that is... Go on, Dave. What are you going to say?
Well, I really want to jump in there, Keith, because as you know, October, I took 21 people to Everest base camp, and we had a head guide, Nepalese head guide, 5 other assistant guides and porters, and out of the 21, 20 made it to Everest base camp, and there were people turning back, it seemed, all the time. But it was, in my view, for lack of attention being paid to them and early on and helping them put things right before, they started to feel too bad. And as we know, things like altitude, if you nip things in the bud at the very beginning, people can achieve amazing things. And that's what we're there to do, is to help them do that. People say to me, oh, your job's to get us to the top. And I say, it isn't. It's to keep you safe and well so you can get to the top. And I always approach it like that. And I know we all do. The three of us do. I know exactly. It's not about relentless push. Oh, no, you've dropped out. You've had it. It's about taking care of people so they can do it, It
was really,
so yes, I totally agree.
It was really funny because the other day I was having a conversation with somebody who they've done a trip with us previously, and they booked to go and do Mira Peak. And they didn't book it with us because they said they'd found it cheaper online and they were going with somebody else and this, that, and the other. And I was like, yeah, that's fair enough. Everyone's got completely their own. People can choose who they go with. Like that's part and parcel of it, isn't it? And they put a photo on Facebook. I never commented on the photo. I just chuckled to myself. And the picture was of them in their kit. And when I looked at their picture, the harness was twisted in on upside down, and their crampons were on the wrong feet. Oh. And I just sat there and thought, well, do you get what you pay for?
Yeah.
But yeah, I did chuckle to myself when I did see that picture. Jake, any funny stories from this year?
Yeah, quite a lot. I think there's been things on every trip that have made us laugh. This has been, it's definitely been the best year for travel and adventure that I've had ever. And I don't know whether that's obviously coming out of the pandemic. Everybody's been just so excited to be traveling again that there's just kind of a renewed energy around it. But I've just had the best time traveling with all the groups going to all of the different places. And yeah, just the energy that the groups have brought. I mean, there's a few things that stand out to me, although I've had a laugh on all of my trips. There's probably a few things that stand out to me. And some of them have just been nights in a tea house, playing cards, having a laugh. Others have been, just taking the piss out of each other as you're hiking, or you get into the end of a long day and you're going, oh, do you remember when so-and-so did that? I mean, even the trip that I've just come back from, Thailand, we would all sit around in an evening and laugh about certain moments. I suppose one of the funniest things for me actually comes from somebody who, because I've told this story multiple times, it comes from somebody who's booked a few trips with us. They came away on their first trip with us earlier this year and came to do Everest Base Camp and the Gokyo Lakes. And then afterwards, they signed up to do Kilimanjaro and scuba diving in Gozo. And both of those trips were with you, Keith. And we got to the end of Everest Base Camp and the Gokyo Lakes, which is a big challenge. Yeah, it's a big challenge for those people who are listening. It's an amazing trip, and commend everybody who obviously we've got quite a good success rate. We get people there safely, and we came back down, and I think she'd picked up a cold or something. She wasn't feeling great, and she just remembered it being really difficult. Really difficult. So at the end of the trip, she said, I've had an amazing time, but that's it. My hiking days are over. I'm not going to do any more. And she gave away her sleeping bag and her hiking boots to our Nepalese team, which is amazing. Really lovely thing to do. And if you're not going to carry on doing those things, then they really appreciate the kit. So she gave that all away. And then a couple of weeks later, clearly recovered and forgotten any struggles that she'd had and signed up to Kilimanjaro. So sent me a message and was like, oh, what walking boots and sleeping bag should I buy? Because I've just given mine away. And went and did Kilimanjaro. And when she came back down, I asked her, I said, oh, how did you get on? And she said, yeah, that's it. I'm done. I've sold my sleeping bag. I've sold my walking boots. I'm never doing anything like that again. A couple of weeks after that, she was going, oh, Mira Peak or Aconcagua, what's that like? I was like, just stop giving away your stuff. All right, you're spending a fortune on all these things, but yeah, clearly the draw of adventure travel has stayed quite strong. So I did find that quite a funny moment. And then also, I suppose, lastly on that trip, quite a funny one for me was it was my birthday while I was away in Nepal, and I thought I would celebrate with the group and try and do something nice. So I took these jelly cubes with me, and I thought. Yeah, I thought, well, okay, well, hear me out, because first of all, I think it's really good if anyone's feeling a little bit ill when you're taking them to altitude, they might not have their appetite, and sometimes they need a bit of a sugar hit. So you can melt the jelly down in hot water. They've got a bit of a sweet drink, or they can eat it or whatever. It's good for them. But anyway, nobody got ill, so I thought I would try and make some jelly in this Nepalese tea house, and I put it in the fridge. And like when we got there in the afternoon, and I was expecting it to have set by sort of 8, 9 o'clock or whatever. Anyway, when I went to get out, it was just nothing. It was still liquid. There's nothing there. And I had a good laugh about it with the group. Anyway, I ended up forgetting about it. And when I came to it in the morning and remembered, it was a completely frozen block. And I just remember this whole thing going so horrendously wrong, and us like chipping away at this frozen block in the morning. And just it was one of those really weird moments in where was it now? On the way back down, just sat in this tea house, chipping away at a block of jelly. And that was one where I just think you're not going to get that anywhere else. So that made me laugh.
Any funny stories from you, Dave?
I've got I think it's amusing. Took a trip to Croatia, Montenegro. And we do sea kayaking, as you know, and cycling, and then whitewater rafting. And there was absolutely, I hope they're listening, delightful family as part of the group. 2 other lovely young women as well, but this lovely family. And it was 2 boys and mum and dad. Anyway, we get to Gatwick. And the mum came to find me. He said, "Oh, yeah, okay, we're checking in. I said, "Well, okay, yeah." She said, "I do all the organising." And she was a very organised person, great person to organise. So she had it all under control. And we got to Lopud Island, which is this lovely secluded island off the Croatian coast. And on the second day, we kayak across to another island, where we stop at a sort of rocky outcrop, and there is a submerged cave, and you can hold your breath, dive in, and you go in underneath. And you know what it's like in those caves from diving. The beautiful light comes in and whatever. So we all did that, and then we come out. And what we say in the itinerary, talking to Jake about itineraries, is there's an opportunity for cliff jumping. Well, of course, living in North Devon and coast, we do that all the time, but this family never had anyway. So the 2 young lads, I say young lads, one was 19, one was 16, 17. Lovely, obviously lovely guys. They said, "Oh, can we do the cliff jumping?" I said, "Yeah, come on, follow me." So up we go and did the lower one. And then, do you want to go higher? Yeah. And I could see on mum's face a little bit, was this going to be all right? So off we went up to the top, jumped in. It was great. It was absolutely great. And everyone did it. So it was fantastic. And then I'm not using names because it's we're on a podcast, but the older lad said, "Oh, Mum, I want to dive off the top, not jump off. I want to dive off." And she was saying, she's actually got to a point. Her patience was, I'm getting a bit tall. No, I don't think so. Anyway, he kept walking, and Dad, lovely guy, I could see him looking at his son going, "Yeah, go on, do it. Go on, do it." So he went, and the mother, she's up there, and he dived there, and she turned away. I said, he did a beautiful. Well, he looked down at me, and I did give him a couple of tips so he didn't hurt himself, and he did a beautiful dive into the water. Anyway, the mum then looked at me, and it wasn't, I wasn't in charge of him. It looked at me as if like, that's it, all control is now lost, And from then on, the next day we went across to this harbour, everybody jumping off the harbour wall, it just went from being under control family to family just doing what the hell it wanted. And it was great. It was funny, but it was all liberating, and it was really good because they got the max out of the experience. So it made me laugh that night though, because I could see her going, "That's it, I've lost control, my boys have gone out of control." So yeah, that was the funniest moment for me, to be honest.
Well, I think one of the funny moments for me this year was on the whitewater rafting trip in Morocco, because we were paddling down, and it's such a great trip in terms of it's a real expedition.
Yeah.
Like, you load the rafts up, you get in your raft that you're going to paddle, and then there's another raft behind you with all the bags, all your stuff, like the gas bottles, the tents, the chairs, literally all gets wrapped up onto this raft, and it follows you down. Like, there's some locals paddling it down with you, and they were just in front of us on one of the rapid sections, and it was on the second day, and we got up, packed it all up, paddled for about an hour and a half down the river, and we were coming down. There was a drop, and you kind of had to take the line really carefully because it was quite narrow. And just as the raft, with all of our kit in it and all of the bags, was about to drop in, there was a rock just under the water, and it just literally span it at the last minute before it was going to go down the drop, and it got pinned on the rock, and the force of the water coming down just literally squashed the boat, and all the stuff was flying everywhere. There was chairs flying out down the, like, all of the guides, everyone was just jumping in the water, pulling gas bottles out, like trying to save you. Obviously everything's in dry bags, nothing got ruined, but it was just chaos for like 20 minutes, like where this raft was just stuck on this rock. And yeah, that was quite funny. And then I think the other funny moment for me, and the joke's on me on this one, was my baboon in Tanzania.
That was excellent.
That is a great story.
And if you haven't heard it, because I think I did tell it on one of the other podcasts, but I'll tell it again now. And it was when you're staying in the lodges and in the safari tents in Tanzania, when you go in to have your dinner in the evening, they ask you if you'd like turn down service. So they had gone in and got my room ready for me. And obviously I was in a safari tent. The tents are huge. It had 2 double beds in it. It's got an ensuite bathroom. When we say tent, it is certainly not a tent that you would be used to on a Sahara Desert trek or something. And I'd gone to bed, and we had to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning for breakfast. And I'd set my alarm, as you always do, and what it's like when you wake up knowing your alarm's about to go off. Like your body clock tells you, like, my alarm's going to go off in a second. And just as I was starting to sort of wake up, I heard someone like opening the tent. And I was like, oh, maybe they come round in the morning and open the outside of the tent up so you can see out and get a view. And they were still fumbling around with the zip. And obviously there's 2 zips, because you've got the main zip for the canvas tent, and then you've got the mozzie net zip as well. And I'm like, what the hell is that noise? And literally, as I got up to look, there was this like massive banging crash, and this male baboon just come flying into my tent and literally came right up to my bed. And obviously I've got a mosquito net around this double bed, and I literally pulled the duvet up, like, so it was just like my eyes poking out, and this baboon was just literally like staring at me through this mosquito net. And then obviously the baboon was a little bit freaked out. Now, a baboon could cause some damage to you, so I was a little bit worried here. Like, the number of people have said, oh, you didn't get your phone and get a photo out. I was like, at that point in time, a photo was not of my highest priority. And so the baboon's now going around the room. At the end of my bed was like a dressing table, and I have my laptop, I have my iPad, I have my camera charging, my lenses were all laid out, and this baboon is like going through the table, and I'm like, he's literally gonna like smash everything off the table in a minute. Then he went into the bathroom, and I was like, right, this is my opportunity, because whenever you're in a safari lodge, you have to be escorted to the dining area, because obviously you are in the middle of you are in the middle of all the animals, so you need to phone up and get an escort. So I was like, right, I'll try and phone now. So I put my hand through the mosquito net, grabbed the phone with the mosquito net and dialed 0 for reception. And they answered the phone. They're like, how can I help? And I was like, I've got a baboon in my room. And they're like, okay, we'll send somebody over. And I was like, no, I don't need another pillow or another towel. Like, there is a baboon in my room. I'm like, and the baboon's still wandering around the room. And literally, before the guy could come down to sort of help me out at this point, the baboon had worked his way out to go back through the door again. And my tip from this story is to make sure that when you are ever staying in a safari tent like that, you use your luggage padlock to put the zips together at the bottom. And that's my tip moving forward with safari tents, because trust me, it's set at 10 to 7 in the morning. The last thing you want is a male baboon looking at you through the mosquito netting of your bed. Now, obviously, I'm quite glad it happened to me, because in the lodge next door, there was a family of 4, like, who were on the trip with me, mum, dad, and 2 young girls. Great family. We had a great time on that trip. But I just felt like if the baboon had gone in their room in the morning, then the noises might have been slightly different that was coming out of that one. So I think that's probably my 2 funny stories from this trip. And finally, I think my third one, and I really do like this one, and it's more about our groups this time, because it was the first time that I'd been back to Tanzania for a year, and we always stay in the same place when we're in Moshi. And I've got to know the barman very, very well in the bar in the hotel. And I literally walked around the corner and he ran up and gave me the biggest hug. He's like, oh, the groups recently have been so boring. I'm glad you were back. They told me you were coming. Whitey said you were back. I've stocked the bar up. There's loads of beer ready for you, all cold already. And I was like, and literally, like, he is such a great barman. I mean, at the end of our Kilimanjaro trip, we had such a great party. I mean, I saw the videos from Chris's group when they were over there. I mean, they had a party like there was no other. And I just think, like, it just shows that the staff at these places are looking forward to our bucket list groups coming back, because they just build a relationship and they know the type of people. Not saying that we're just going to take people who love to drink with us, but they know that people like to have fun and that they have a good time. And we certainly did have a good time on that trip. But yeah, I think that's just a lovely story. The fact that he come running up and gave me a hug because he was so pleased for the bucket list company to come back. Jake.
So can I ask then, is it just beers he was stocking at the bar? Or if you're now going on a bucket list trip, is there another drink that he can make that I heard about?
He can make another drink now, yeah. He now makes a very good espresso martini, and never had a clue what an espresso martini was. But I've given him some lessons. We did have to try quite a few, but he now makes an absolute mean espresso martini as well. So if you are heading out to Tanzania with us and you like an espresso martini, you can get that as well now. So that's a good one. And then the other exciting thing for this year as well is the hotel in Gozo that we use, hopefully next year, is going to be completely refurbished and ready, we're hoping. And that's super exciting, because that's going to make that trip so much better when we get there. They're having a swimming pool on the roof, and it's just going to... I was just looking at my list of trips that I'd done this year and saw that Gozo was on there, and Dave mentioned an espresso martini as well. Dave, I want to also quickly talk about a trip that we ran together for the first time this year.
Oh, yes.
And we nearly cancelled it because of the lack of take-up on it. But we decided to go ahead and run it anyway. And that was our Spanish adventure trip. And that was... the original plan for the Spanish adventure was to offer it to our existing clients and old clients, to bring people back together and have 6 days in the sun doing different activities. But we only... do we have 4?
1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. I can't.
Candice.
4. Yeah.
So we only had 4 people sign up for the trip, and we were considering knocking it on the head. Bearing in mind that there was 4 clients and we had 3 guides out there. So it was a very, very high ratio trip in terms of being looked after. But I'm so glad we've kept it and we're doing it again in 2024, Dave, because actually 2024 is pretty much almost sold out now based on the experiences that people came back with in 2023, didn't they?
Oh, and some of those are they booked again, haven't they? Bringing out bringing others because it was so good. I think it was one of those things. You do something for the first time and people aren't sure, but it was such a great week. Multi activities, people learning to do things they've never done before, like climbing. Again, there was sea kayaking, the downhill bike ride. It was just such a variety of things. And in such a lovely, warm, relaxing environment, it was great. I loved it. I didn't think I was working even. I expect I'll have to pay for that now, but it didn't feel like work at all. It just felt like being out with a group of friends, showing them things that they can do and helping them do them, and it was just lovely. And they were a great group again. They came with completely the right mindset. This is an adventure. We've not done this before, some of this stuff, but we really want to do it. And I know we've got a lot more going this time, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we're up to like 14 this year, I think.
Yeah. And some really keen people. I think it's going to be really good again.
And I think the highlight of that trip, if you want to talk us through it, Dave, was the Via Ferrata with the group, because it was something that many of them hadn't done before, wasn't it?
No, and a lot of people don't know what Via Ferrata is, but it translates as Iron Way, and basically it is an iron cable with what are called staple steps, bridges, Tarzan bridges, planks to walk along, which take you up sheer cliff faces that even if you are the most experienced climber, you could not get up. So you have safety gear, obviously, but it got people miles out of their comfort zone, but safe, and miles above the ground, a long way above the ground. And I think there was a lot of nervous energy and a hell of a lot of excitement when we'd finished, wasn't there? People were drained, but they just absolutely loved it. And it's one of those things that you don't have to be an experienced climber, but what you do experience is sheer rock faces and height and exposure to a massive degree, but safely. I think everyone loved it. We loved it, didn't we? You were in the front and I was in the back. And between us, we're just having a great time.
I must admit, like I've done a lot of Via Ferrata in the Costa Blanca, and I hadn't done that one before, which was great in terms of, again, going out and doing something new for the first time. Because when you're guiding things constantly, it's sometimes nice to go and do a different one.
Yes.
But I think the issue being, the thing that surprised me was just quite how pumpy that one was in sections. Like, it was very, you didn't need to be super strong, but, there were sections of it where, like, you had to work hard. You had to work hard and dig deep. Like, and and
I remember you at one point turning to me, shouting down, "Are you all right, Dave?" I think you were hoping I was going to say, "No, I'm not."
Yeah. Can we go down?
I could see you were feeling it.
Yeah, it was. Like, I really was.
Great. It was great.
And I think that the surprise for me was kind of, obviously we're there guiding the clients, but there was a couple of sections where I was like, I've got to look after myself here. I need to pump on through this bit. It was like,
yeah.
So anyway, if you are interested in our Spanish adventure trip, then we still do have a couple of spaces for 2024. Lovely private villa that we have to ourselves. Dave and I cook a couple of meals for you in the evenings. We go out and have some lovely some lovely food locally as well. Take a trip down to the beach and enjoy a drink down, sat by the beach, and do some amazing activities. So if that floats your boat for 6 days in June, then take a look on the website and have a look at that one, because I thought it was an amazing trip. I'm going to start to finish this podcast off, and I've got a couple more things to ask before we do. Jake, what trips are you looking forward to leading next year?
I've got a Everest base camp coming up at the start of the year that I'm looking forward to. I've got India in about 6 weeks that I'm really looking forward to. So that will fall at the end of January. Got a couple of people who were on my Machu Picchu trip, but also it's a new trip for us as a company. So I'm really excited to be getting out to a new destination. I have got another Inca trail because I loved it so much that I asked to get put back on another one, and I've got a few people who I met on the Sahara trip going on to that one as well. So next year is going to be a year of new trips that I've already done that I'm really looking forward to going back to, and meeting up with people who I've met before on trips and getting to look forward to spending some more time with them. If I had to pick one that I was probably looking forward to the most, I would say probably Peru. I've got a really good group for Peru that I know a lot of them, and I'm really looking forward to that one.
Okay, Dave, what about you?
Well, I'm going to be a bit boring. I love the Sahara, and that's your fault because you took me on that. I never thought I was a desert person, but I love it. So I'm doing that, and I know that'll be always a success. So that feels good. But I tell you what I'm looking forward to, because last time I went, I was unwell from post-COVID. Is the Gozo trip again, to going diving, something completely different, and I'm just so looking forward to that underwater experience again, and also again seeing the people we take go from being I can't put my face in the water to suddenly they're under the water diving through a wreck having a brilliant time. That's a smashing feeling.
Yeah, and we've got a few people on that one who were on my best of Nepal trip that have booked it on the back of that one. They're already scuba divers, and that's the one thing I just want to say about our scuba diving trip, because although we say learn to scuba dive, it is there and you can learn to scuba dive. But I also just want to say that actually, if you are already a scuba diver, then it is also a great trip for you as well to come out and actually scuba dive in Gozo, because that's the bit that Dave and I do when we're leading the trip. Like, we go out diving with those who are already qualified divers. The dive instructors in the dive center look after and do the teaching. And then we head out and go out and discover Gozo and show you the best dive sites on Gozo if you are already a scuba diver. So if you are already a scuba diver, then please do look at that trip as well, because it is a great one, and not just one for those that want to learn. So don't discount it if you see it and says scuba diving in Gozo. It is for both those that can't do it and have never done it before, and those who are qualified already. Trips I'm looking forward to next year. I've got our first Iceland one. Hopefully going to go and see some Northern Lights and get some amazing photos of that. I've got our first Maldives trip, which I'm super excited about delivering and taking people over and seeing the real Maldives. If you fancy the Maldives in 2024, then that's the trip to get yourself on. And also, if you want to scuba dive again, because the plan is that we are going to go and see some whale sharks. That's my plan for that one. So that's on my bucket list. So that's the thing that I want to tick off for 2024 for me. And then finally, Vietnam and Cambodia. I'm on our first one for that as well, and I've got some great people on that trip for the first one for that one. And then finally, our Spanish adventure one, Dave. I'm really excited to see what that one's going to look like this year with a potentially a full house of bucket listers on it, because I just think that experience will be even better with more people around and having that experience. We've got a big, massive villa with our own pool. It's got a bar in the villa. And I just think like the experience is going to be even better than last or than this year with a few more people on it. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Anything to finish with, Jake?
No, not from me. I think I'm just, like I said, I'm really looking forward to getting out there. I've had the best year of adventure travel this year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what next year's got in store. There's a few, I know you're doing quite a lot of the new trips. Next year, we've got a few new trips that are coming out that I know we've got some bookings on for 2025. So I'm going to be setting my sights on those. And yeah, I'm probably just looking forward to being able to go back to some of the places that we've been to already. Like, I love going back to Morocco and seeing our team out there. I love going back to Nepal and seeing our team out there. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to a busy year, and it's all kicking off in about 6 weeks. So I haven't got too long to wait.
Dave, anything final from you?
Not really. I haven't fallen off my perch yet, so watch this space.
And I suppose, obviously, as we're looking at highlights from 2023, another highlight that we need to mention really is obviously winning the British Travel Award again for Best Adventure Travel Company. So that's great. Obviously, we also won. We also got a couple. We got a silver and a bronze as well for best safaris. And what was the other one? I can't even remember what the other one was now. What was the other one? Best safaris and activities in sports holidays. That was the other one. Obviously, we only we think about the goal, but it's great that we've won the best adventure holidays for 21, 22, 23. So it's really good to keep that consistency and also be recognised for what we do as a company. And I want to thank both of you two for what you do in terms of looking after our amazing bucket listers and making sure they have such a great experience as well. Finally, if you want to meet us face to face, you've got a couple of opportunities coming up. At the beginning of February, we will be at Destination Show in London. So if you are in and around London, you can come and see us at Destinations. And then in March, we'll be back up to Birmingham for the National Outdoor Expo as well, where the team will be there to say hello. And we'll probably be sending out some emails to people with some free tickets for those events as well. So if you want to come across and see us face to face, and I always remember when we were at the National Outdoor Expo this year, I remember someone tapping me on the shoulder and saying, I listened to your podcast. I thought I recognized that voice. But actually, if you do want to come and see us face to face, then those are your opportunities in the coming months to come and meet the bucket list team at those events. So I think that's it. I think we can wrap up our 2023 year in review. Thanks, Jake. Thanks, Dave, for coming on and talking us through how you've found the year and given us those stories as well. Hope you've enjoyed it. All that's left from us is to wish you a happy new year, and we will be back and see you in 2024. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bucket Lister podcast. Be sure to click follow to be alerted for next week's episode. For more travel inspiration, check us out at www.thebucketlistcompany.co.uk or follow us on socials. See you next time.